in this video, you're going to learn how to use the Essential Planner to actually accomplish the goals that you want to achieve in your life. So I created a weekly planner and I included my essential planning method in the beginning of the planner. So you could actually use this to accomplish any goals, desires, things that you want to achieve in your life. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through how I actually use this planner. I'm going to show you the pages and how I map this out, usually at the end of the year for annual goal setting. So this video is for you if you absolutely adore annual goal setting and you get excited for January 1st and for a whole new year. All right, so in my last video, I shared the essential planning method. If you haven't watched it yet, I'll put up a card so that you can click through. I would go and watch that first and then come back to this video. So in step number 1, I shared that I usually take a look at my core desired feelings for the year. I map those out because I want to feel a certain way in my life, and core desired feelings really guide how I set my annual goals for the year. So I'm going to show you the blank paper, and then I'm actually going to show you last year's planner in terms of how I did it. Okay, so this is the blank section. This is where you would put your core desired feelings. So I've given you an area where you can just laundry list them out. So you're gonna get a view into my life, but this is how I did last year's. So I wrote down all of the different core desired feelings that I wanted to feel for the year. I wrote down the 2023 one. So I wanted to feel wonder, connected, enriched, and energized. And then I wrote down a whole bunch of ones that I wanted to feel for 2024. And then you can see I starred the ones that really stood out to me. So I starred electric, vibrant, radiant, and expansive. When I looked at my laundry list, I was like, you know what, those, they just speak to me. I can't explain it. It's like a gut feeling. Trust your intuition on this one. And then what I actually do is I create black and white pictures of the words. I have a fun font script that I use on Canva, and I make these images, and I actually put a blog post up on my website. Really, I have done this for the past few years just so I can kind of look back and see what I have set goals around, how I wanted to feel. And so it's great for me, but hopefully it has helped others also in their goal setting processes. And then I also do an Instagram post. I do it for hopefully sharing value with the world, but also I can use it and look back and be like, what were my core desired feelings? So I kind of bookmark that in my phone so I can easily go and take a look at my core desired feelings for the year. Step number 2 that I shared in the last video is the life audit or lifestyle category audit, life category audit, whatever words you want to use. And so I have all of the different lifestyle categories listed here, and I have 1 to 10 so that you can rank them. So I'll read these out to you again. They are career, finances, health, fitness, nutrition, travel, home, spiritual, couple, family, friendships, and leisure. And let's take a look at last year's. So I went through and I scored them. So 1 is this area of my life is not going well. 10 is I've got this figured out, it's going really well. And so most of mine, I've got a few 9s here, I've got some 8s. I really try and avoid using 7. So I shared in the last video that I feel like 7 is a cop-out. I feel like 7 is like, I don't want to rank myself poorly, but I don't want to rank myself really well. Like, I got to figure this out. I actually did put a 7 in nutrition and a 7 in leisure. So I didn't actually follow my own advice very well last year. But I have some 6s here in health and fitness, a 6 in spiritual, and a 6 in friendships. Then what I do is I list them all out. So the ones that I scored the lowest in, I will list them at the top. So I have health and fitness at the top, friendships, spiritual, so on and so forth. Because your next section is to set goals for yourself in the lowest scoring categories of your life. I shared in my last video that the reason for that is I actually pulled this from Shailene Johnson's push method. So she talks about push goals. And when you set a push goal, what is like one goal you need to accomplish in your life that's going to have impact on all areas of your life? So for example, for me, I really wanted to focus on my health and fitness. And I know that if I focus on my health and fitness, I'm going to feel better in my body. So I'm going to feel vibrant and radiant. And that's going to impact my confidence, how I show up in the world. if I have enough energy for taking care of my family, for my job. So I actually wrote down some intentions and then I will turn it into a SMART goal. So for health and fitness, I wanted to look happy. I wanted to be happy looking in the mirror. I wanted to feel challenged in my workouts and I wanted to feel energized so that I can play with my kids. Friendships, I want monthly connection with my friends. I really want to travel with my friends, so I wrote down some ideas around some friendship trips. I then turned that into a SMART goal. So after I write down some of the intentions around the lowest scoring categories in my life, I then set SMART goals. So for health and fitness, I know that if I want to feel challenged in my workouts, I got to step it up a notch. So I hired a personal trainer. I also know that I need to be consistent in my workouts. So my SMART goal around health and fitness was making sure that I'm working out 3 to 4 times a week. I am taking yoga once a week, and then I am doing daily walks with my husband and my dogs. And then the last one that kind of came to fruition later on was doing one fun activity. So I did pole dancing at the beginning of 2024, and that transitioned into ballroom dancing, which I've now stayed consistent with once a week. I knew that if I focused on that area of my life, it would impact other areas. So that's why I have that section in the planner. Next up, I have a section for all of the life category goals. So I have them all in a table here. The ones that you scored the lowest on, you've set goals, so you can just kind of translate those into that chart. And then I like setting goals in all aspects of my life. And it could be quite large or it could be a smaller goal. They're not all like, I'm not trying to overwhelm myself and do grandiose things in all areas of my life. And so I write a few things down in here. And it could be everything from like nutrition, I wanted to increase my protein intake. Spiritual, I want to have a daily meditation practice, I want to journal every day, and I want to read my Bible every day. And so those are things that I can easily incorporate into my life, but I have an intention around that. From a family perspective, we do monthly dates with our kids. We're always together as a family, but we wanted to do individual. So we have daddy-daughter dates and mom-son dates, and then mommy-daughter dates, dad-son dates. And so I wrote those down and then I figured out a way to make sure that I'm doing those on a monthly basis. Your next section of your planner is making sure that you're scheduling these out throughout the year. So I have a calendar here, January through December. And the reason for that is that some of these goals are going to be time bound. And so I mapped them all out. I start with the things that are time bound first. So for example, let me find an easy one. From a family perspective, we always do an annual trip and we usually do it in August. So I wrote down Banff, we're taking the family to Banff this year. We did that at the end of August, beginning of September. And then I write down everything else that's time bound. So I write down like when we're going to the cottage, when birthdays are, when our anniversary is, if I'm going on a trip to doTERRA's annual convention. We always do an annual honeymoon, my husband and I, and so I put it like March ? Are we going then, or February? So I try to write down everything that's time bound in the year first, and then that allows me to kind of see where I have pockets of time to achieve other things. And then I take a look and I'm like, okay, where do I have some time? You know what? I have some time in January. So maybe let me set some goals here that like don't need to happen at a specific time of the year. That's how I use the monthly section to map out all of my life category goals. What I also made sure that I did in this planner was explaining how to use the planner. So I have a section of like what and how, and it explains everything like what is a core desired feeling, what is a weekly intention goal, what is body wellness and intuition section, what is the gratitude section for, I have diffuser blend suggestions, I have a checklist, and so I explain everything before I actually get into the pages. I'll show you the next pages. This is becoming like a product tour. And so I'll just show you the rest of the pages. So I also have a little bit of astrology. I'm not a massive astrology fan, but I'll share why I actually have this in here. So I have new moons and full moons. I am fairly consistent with my cycle, and I usually bleed around the new moon. And I am usually tired and I don't want to do much. So when I look at my month planning, I have the full and the new moons mapped out on the monthly spread. So here's the monthly spread, And you can see here that I've got new moon, full moon. And the reason for that is when I'm mapping out my monthly goals, I am not gonna wanna do anything around the new moon because I'm usually bleeding. And I need to go inward, I need to rest. And so when I'm mapping out my monthly goals, I keep that in mind when I am looking at dates that I want to launch things or do things. So that's why I have those in the planner. Next up, if you believe in Mercury retrogrades, I have them mapped out here as well, just so you can kind of think like if you're doing a big launch, if you're launching a 2025 planner, you probably don't want to do it between November 9th and the 29th because systems are going to be probably a little wonky. And so if you believe in Mercury retrogrades, I have that in here. It's just something you can consider. Next up, we have the annual spread. So you can take a look at the full year, all of the new moons and the full moons. And I've got lots of sections for writing out all of your goals. Next up, we have the monthly spreads. And so I have a section for writing out your goals. I, again, highlight the new moon, the full moon, and then when the sun is actually changing in terms of zodiac sign, for those that are curious. And then I map out kind of like large holidays in the US and Canada. So I've got New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, things like Family Day in Canada in February, or long weekends like Victoria Day, Memorial Day, things like that. And then we get into the weekly pages. So here is what a weekly page looks like. So you've got sections for writing down kind of appointment, anything that's scheduled from a time base. I'll show you my other planner how I do it, but I write my appointments down here. I've got a diffuser blend suggestion for you here, and then to-dos. I like to do at least 3 things a day. And then I've got this checklist. So I've got one for exercise, meditation, supplements, and self-care. And I use that, again, I'll show you my other planner, but I will map out my workouts for the week. So I'll actually like square around exercise, which days I want to do exercise, so that when I'm actually looking at my week, I know exactly where I want to do my workouts. Last but not least, before I show you how I used it this year, I have a reflection. So there's reflection questions at the end of the week. I sit down on Sunday and do this, and then I've got pages for brain dumps. So let me show you how I actually use them in this year's planner. So I wrote down time, appointment, and I like to check things off as I go throughout the week. And then I write down things that I need to do, and then here's how I do the exercise. So I will square it, and then like I missed Tuesday, so I actually like called myself out on it, and then I check it off. Sometimes I'll even write down my self-care, like I really want to do an Epsom salt bath here, I want to do a sauna here, so I'll actually plan it out and then I'll put it in my digital calendar. Let me then show you how I use the weekly reflection page. So I answer the questions here, I write out what I'm grateful for, and then I do a brain dump. So what I do with that brain dump is I write it all down, and then I go to my weekly spread and I look back at my brain dump, and I've got, 6 items. So I can do one thing on Monday, one thing on Tuesday. This is outside of my full-time job. So this is usually like side hustle related things or family related things. And I don't overwhelm myself. And that's why I have only the 3 things a day. So I map those out. I try to do like 1 thing a day, then I'll maybe add 2 things a day. And that has really worked for me so that I don't get overwhelmed trying to accomplish more outside of my full-time job. Okay, last but not least is the monthly reflection. So I showed you the weekly reflection. Now there's a monthly reflection. So this is for February. There's a monthly reflection, and then this is looking forward to March. So there's questions, and then this is where you can really map out your goals. In my last video, when I was talking about the essential planning method, and I talked about reverse engineering your monthly goals. So let's say you want to publish a planner in September, and you've got 9 tasks that you need to do, and you break it down into 3 tasks a month. So I would go into my planner and actually map this out. So if this is month 1, then I need to start doing things. I'll actually write that down when I'm doing my annual planning. So when I get to the March section, I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to do something, 2 months in advance, but I need to do these 3 things to get myself there. So I will go and do my reverse engineering and actually put it in here so that when I get to this month, I'm reminded of what I want to do. And that is how I use the Essential Planner to accomplish my goals. If you have any questions, pop them down and I will make sure that I answer every single one. The planner is available for sale on my website, robynpineault.com. That's ROBYNPINEAULT.com. I will put the links below as well. I am offering an online course for all those who purchase the planner this year. So you will get an online video you can self-pace and actually watch them whenever you want. And it'll walk you through exactly how to do this goal setting method. I'll walk you through each single step. You can pause, you can write things down, you can actually take the time to do this over the next few months as we move into the new year. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you could like this video and subscribe, I would really appreciate it so that more people who are looking for goal setting, productivity, healthy habit tips can find this channel. Thank you for hanging out with me in this little corner of the internet. I truly appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your day.